Ethan Cole's hands trembled, not from enemy fire or desert wind, but from the glow of his tablet screen. At 2:14 a.m. Virginia time, the live feed flickered for a moment before settling into a crystal-clear image, his bedroom. The one he'd renovated himself, the one he hadn't seen in 6 months, the one now occupied by a man with no name whose arm draped over Ethan's wife, Madison, like he'd always belonged there. They were laughing, quietly, intimately. She leaned into him with the same laugh she once saved for Ethan alone. 2 wine glasses shimmered under the bedside lamp, his wedding crystal, their anniversary wine. And just before the feed cut out, the man kissed her, deeply, casually, like it was routine, like this was their room now. Ethan didn't blink. He didn't scream. He recorded it, screen capture, timestamp, secure server. Then he whispered, "You just turned this into a battlefield." 6 months earlier, everything had already started to feel off. Madison had stopped signing her emails with love. Their calls were rushed. Their kids, Max and Lily, barely appeared on FaceTime. "Soccer practice," she'd said. "School projects, they're just busy." Ethan believed her, at first. Then came the small mistakes. A receipt for a restaurant in Norfolk, an hour from their home, with a signature that wasn't hers. A late-night call dropped when she thought she muted it. Someone in the background had called her Babe, the scent of cologne on his old hoodie when he returned for 2 weeks of leave. She said it was Lucas, her co-worker, who'd borrowed it during a charity cleanup. Lucas. The same co-worker who used to avoid eye contact with Ethan. The same one now tagging Madison in gym selfies on social media, always one step behind her, always cropped just barely out of frame. "I'm just tired, Ethan," she told him one night when he pressed. "You spend your whole life chasing shadows overseas, and now you want to play detective at home too?" "I don't want to play anything, Madison," he replied. "I just want the truth." "You already think you know it?" she snapped, slamming the dishwasher shut. "Maybe it's easier that way." Ethan's deployment base was classified, buried deep in the Nevada desert where sun-bleached rocks stretched to the horizon and secrets went to die. He was good at keeping secrets, but not from himself. After installing a biometric home monitoring system under the guise of child safety, he looped the feeds into his private network. No one, not even military IT, could see what he saw. His specialty in Army intelligence had always been pattern recognition, analyzing threat matrices, dissecting speech for micro-expressions, piecing together fragmented signals, and now the clearest pattern of all. His wife was hiding something, or someone. Lewis Frost, Ethan's comms tech and oldest friend, was the first to notice. "You haven't blinked in 5 minutes, man." Ethan closed the tablet. "I think she's cheating on me." Lewis winced. "That's heavy? You want to talk to someone? Off base?" "No, I want evidence." Lewis stared. "You're turning your tradecraft on your own family?" Ethan looked away. "It's not paranoia if the target's real." In the weeks that followed, Ethan balanced 2 wars, one tactical, one personal. He intercepted encrypted military chatter by day and decoded suspicious credit card statements by night. He analyzed logins to Madison's cloud storage, cross-referenced them with known burner phone providers, and discovered a secondary email linked to her Apple ID. Inside were messages with someone saved as TG. TG. "Miss you already? The kids didn't even notice me leave." Madison. "It feels like you've always belonged here?" The man had a name. Tyler Grant, a pharmaceutical rep, supposedly. Relocated to their neighborhood 11 months ago. Smiling, active in the PTA. Volunteered at Max's school. Attended Lily's dance recital. Ethan's stomach turned. He wasn't just sleeping with Madison. He was embedding himself into their children's lives. One night, Ethan accessed the feed again. This time, Tyler was in the kitchen, making pancakes, wearing Ethan's old Army hoodie, Lily ran in, hugged him. "Tai makes the best pancakes, Tai. "Does he now?" Ethan whispered through clenched teeth. His knuckles cracked as he typed a silent note into his operation log. "Target accepted as parental figure. Psychological infiltration successful." The next message from Madison sealed it. "We'll start the paperwork next month. I'll say Ethan's unstable. The deployments have changed him. PTSD. That'll make custody easier." Tyler replied, "My attorney says the house will stay yours if we frame it around stability for the kids. It's all about optics. The house Ethan built, the family he fought to protect, the children he'd die for, all strategically reassigned like assets in a hostile takeover." Ethan called Lewis. "This isn't just an affair." Lewis didn't even ask for proof. "What do you need?" "Encrypted comms, financial trace, social network mapping. I want to know everything about Tyler Grant." There was a pause. "Tyler Grant doesn't exist," Lewis said the next day. "His real name's not in any government database, and his so-called pharma company is a shell. Your guy's clean, too clean. That's intel code for fabricated identity." Ethan sat silently. The air around him felt denser, hotter. "I'm activating Phase 0, he said finally. "Bro, that's usually for black-level foreign ops. You sure?" "He's not just stealing my wife," Ethan said. "He's stealing my intel access. If you've ever been overlooked after giving your all, type 1 in the comments. Your story matters." That night, Ethan opened an old voice memo from Max. "Dad, guess what? Tyler says I'm smart like you. He even asked me where you keep your super laptop. I told him it's in your cabinet with that scanner lock. Is that okay?" Ethan didn't flinch. He clicked record and whispered, "It's not a marriage anymore. It's an operation." The email hit Ethan's inbox at 6:03 a.m. sharp, subject line: "Notice of divorce and custody filing." He was mid-sip of his black coffee when his eyes locked on the sender, Slate and Bell, LLP. The name triggered instant nausea. Veronica Slate had made a career targeting military personnel in custody and asset division cases. Her firm's tagline, "Stability is power. Fight for it." Ethan clicked. The document began like any other legal brief, dry and cold. But halfway down, one paragraph exploded like a landmine. "Our client, Madison Cole, seeks primary custody of Max and Lily Cole, full possession of the marital residence, and 70% of Staff Sergeant Ethan Cole's military pension on grounds of prolonged absence, psychological volatility, and failure to maintain domestic stability." He read it twice, then once more. Still couldn't breathe. Psychological volatility? The deployments that kept bombs off American soil were now being used to declare him unstable. The medals on his uniform weighed nothing compared to the narrative she was building. Ethan forwarded the document to Frank Delaney, his new attorney and former JAG officer. They met later that day in a conference room above a used car lot in suburban Arlington. Frank was grizzled, no nonsense, and dressed like a man who didn't waste money on silk ties. "She wants the whole pie," Frank said flatly, flipping through the pages. "House, pension, kids, like you never existed." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I fought 2 tours in Kandahar so she and the kids could have that house." Frank looked up. "And now she's fighting to take it all." That night, Ethan met Olivia Sanders, his co-worker in cybersecurity, at a diner off base. She slid her phone across the table. "You need to see this. I ran a passive trace on your home network. There's a third-party access pattern repeating every Wednesday and Sunday night." He raised an eyebrow. "VPN? Nope. Local IP masking. Whoever it is, they're logging in from inside your house." Ethan blinked. "Tyler." Olivia nodded. "And here's the kicker. There's packet data suggesting a device near your home tried to ping a government API key last week. Unsuccessful. But that's not civilian behavior." Ethan cursed under his breath. "They're not just trying to destroy my family. They're digging for classified infrastructure." The custody hearing was set for 2 weeks out. In the meantime, Ethan's time with Max and Lily was limited to court-ordered weekend visits. During one such visit, he noticed Max hesitating as he placed his backpack on the floor. "You okay, bud?" Ethan asked casually. Max shrugged. "Mom said not to tell you, but she's letting Mr. Tyler stay over now." Ethan's stomach churned. "And how do you feel about that?" "He cooks pancakes," Max said, forcing a half smile. "But sometimes he asks weird questions, like where you keep your work stuff." Lily added, "He wanted to know what your laptop looked like. I told him it has a thumb scanner. Was that okay?" Ethan nodded slowly, his tone calm. "You did nothing wrong." Internally, alarms were blaring. Tyler wasn't just infiltrating his marriage, he was socially engineering his children. Back at his apartment, Ethan pored over credit statements, cross-referencing dates and travel locations. A pattern emerged. On the exact days his security clearance had been upgraded or his deployments extended, large deposits had been made to Madison's new private bank account. They weren't from her job. They were disguised as consulting bonuses, from a firm with no website, no listed employees, and a Delaware address. He forwarded the data to Olivia. "Shell company confirmed," she messaged. "Money laundering protocol. Whoever Tyler really is, he's being paid to stay close to you." The next confrontation wasn't in a war zone. It was during a custody exchange in a grocery store parking lot. Madison stepped out of her car, sunglasses on, crisp blazer, every inch the image of composure. Ethan motioned toward Max and Lily, buckling into the back of his SUV. "They told me about the questions." She didn't flinch. "They're my children, too. I have a right to know who they're around." "Or what they know," he countered. "Because this isn't curiosity, Madison. It's reconnaissance." Her voice lowered to a hiss. "Don't start this again. You're paranoid." He handed her a printed sheet of financial transfers. "Then explain this. 4 deposits, all aligned with my deployments. One day after my clearance bump, you bought yourself a new Audi." Her jaw clenched. "That money's legal." "From who?" he snapped. "Tyler? Or should I say Pavel Resnick?" Madison's face drained of color. "Yeah," Ethan whispered. "You let a foreign operative into our home, into our children's lives. And now you want to use family court to finish the job? If you've ever had your love, service, or sacrifice weaponized against you, type 2 below. You're not alone." Madison yanked open her door. "You're sick, Ethan, making up spy stories because you can't handle being replaced." Ethan stepped closer. "You're not on trial yet, Madison, but if you keep pushing this, you will be." As he drove away with Max and Lily, his secure phone buzzed. Message from Olivia. "Confirmed. Resnick has ties to 3 other military families. Your case isn't isolated, it's coordinated." Ethan stared into the rearview mirror, his kids chattering softly behind him, unaware. The custody battle wasn't just about where the children slept. It was about what they knew, and who they were being trained to trust. The shock wasn't the letter, it was the handwriting, neatly curved, familiar loops. Madison's old habit of dotting every I with a perfect circle. But what jarred Ethan wasn't her penmanship. It was the content of the letter she'd sent from prison, tucked inside an officially approved envelope from the Federal Correctional Institution. "I've had time to think. I miss the kids terribly. I know I've hurt you. I didn't understand the full scope of what Tyler was involved in. He manipulated me. Tell Max I'm proud of him. And please, don't shut me out completely. I'm still their mother." Ethan should have felt something. Relief, sadness, bitterness. Instead, his eyes locked onto a single sentence. "Tell Max I'm proud of him." Why Max? Why that exact phrase? She'd never written Lily's name. He flipped the paper over. Tiny dashes had been indented beneath certain letters, barely visible, subtle enough to pass inspection, but he recognized it instantly. Steganography, not handwriting, code. Ethan drove straight to the MFSU facility in Arlington. Olivia Sanders met him at the entrance, her expression already grim. "You decoded it too?" she asked. "Didn't even need to," he said, tossing the letter on her desk. "She's using embedded syntax with frequency-based triggers. First letter stego." Olivia scanned the note under a forensic light. Invisible ink dots outlined patterns. "She's referencing my travel schedule," Ethan said. "There's a line in here. It must be hard traveling so much, especially this week. This letter was mailed the same day I left for Kansas." Olivia frowned. "How could she have known you were deploying unless—" "She got it from the kids," Ethan said darkly. "During visitation." Frank Delaney, his attorney, joined them an hour later. "This complicates everything," Frank said after reviewing the material. "We're talking about communications that may breach federal surveillance laws." "I don't care about that," Ethan snapped. "I care that my kids are being used, again, as conduits for extraction." Frank held up a hand. "We bring this to the custody judge. What do you think Madison's team will say? They'll claim you're surveilling her. They'll spin this as obsession." Ethan's voice was razor sharp. "Then let them. I'll take obsession over negligence." That weekend, during Ethan's parenting time, Max brought home a second letter Madison had given him to read later. Ethan excused himself, scanned it, and immediately spotted the pattern. The letter was addressed to Max, but the phrases were riddled with suspicious linguistic pacing. "Your teacher, Miss Phillips, sounds so smart. Is she still working at that office with the locked room? Tell Dad I hope he's not keeping all his fancy laptops in one basket, haha." Ethan stared. Olivia Phillips, his current partner, was a lead cybersecurity engineer on a nuclear defense project, and now she was on their radar. He didn't wait. That night, he filed an emergency petition to suspend all contact between Madison and the children, citing direct manipulation, psychological endangerment, and national security risk. The judge scheduled a review hearing within 72 hours. At court, Madison looked worn. Her orange jumpsuit dulled her presence. She kept her eyes down as Ethan took the stand. Frank presented side-by-side versions of Madison's innocent letters and the decoded versions using AI-assisted steganography filters. "This isn't grief," Frank said, voice clear and firm. "It's operational espionage, Your Honor. Embedded code, obtained during parental visits, smuggled out as if it were love." Veronica Slate, Madison's attorney, objected. "This is speculative at best." Judge Holbrook raised a hand. "I've reviewed the forensic report. There's nothing speculative about it." Ethan watched Max and Lily testify via closed circuit, their voices shaking as they answered soft-spoken questions from a court-appointed psychologist. "Did your mom ever ask about your dad's work?" Max: "Yes. She said she was just curious, but she always made me repeat stuff. About the computer in his office, about people he talks to on the phone." Lily: "She asked me to draw a picture of Dad's office once. I thought it was for a birthday card. But she wrote on the back." Ethan gripped the armrest, fury masked behind military discipline. Back in the courtroom, Veronica pivoted. "Your Honor, we don't deny the facts. But we argue that Mrs. Cole was manipulated by a known foreign operative. Her current behavior is the echo of trauma, not malice." Ethan stood slowly. "With respect, Judge, I've been trained to spot manipulation. I've seen it overseas in war zones. I've seen it in traitors. What I never expected was to see it in the eyes of my own children, when they realized their own mother used them as intel tools. If you've ever discovered that someone you trusted used your own family against you, Type 3. The pain is real and you're not alone." Just as court adjourned, Ethan received an encrypted ping on his secure military device. Message: Resnick attempted prison escape, failed. Requests direct comm with you, claims critical family intel. Ethan read it twice, heart pounding. Madison wasn't working alone. And her partner wasn't finished. Ethan stood motionless, staring at the email on his secure line. Subject: final request for communication from Bridget Cole via legal counsel. Message: I have something urgent to tell Lily. In person. I swear it's not about the past. It's about her future. His heart didn't race. It didn't need to. The only thing that moved was his finger, tapping forward and sending it to his legal team. He didn't even bother to respond, because he'd seen this move before. Bridget had made final requests 3 times in the last year, each time cloaked in regret, each time meant to unlock a door Ethan had welded shut, not out of vengeance, but because the fortress he'd built around his children no longer had a drawbridge. 3 hours earlier, Ethan had stood proudly at Max's high school graduation. His son, now a full-grown man, stood on the podium in full Air Force Junior ROTC regalia, delivering the valedictorian speech with the same calm, even tone Ethan had taught him during late-night debates and early morning hikes. My journey hasn't been traditional, but it taught me that strength doesn't come from the absence of conflict. It comes from surviving it with your integrity intact. My father showed me that. No names were needed. Everyone in the crowd knew the story. The media coverage, the spy trial, the betrayal, and the quiet way Ethan had chosen not to retaliate, but to rebuild. Back home, Lily sat on the porch, sketching a new cybersecurity logo for a class project. She looked up and grinned. Did Max cry? He held it together, Ethan said, unlocking the front door. But barely. I would have bet $5 on tears, she smirked. Inside, Olivia, now his wife of 2 years, was baking cinnamon rolls. The smell filled the house. The kids' laughter bounced off the walls. The security system pinged softly in the background as always, reassuring, never invasive. This was the fortress, not made of walls, but built from healing, from relentless honesty, from every hard conversation they'd chosen to have. And no matter how many messages Bridget sent, she was on the outside now, permanently. Still, even fortresses need watchtowers. The message from Resnick had come 6 weeks ago during a classified debrief in Norfolk. He'd offered names, locations, operatives embedded in Navy housing units, a new method of embedding surveillance tools in children's school tablets through compromised gift apps. Ethan had verified it all. The sting operation captured 3 new actors, and once again, Resnick asked for one thing in return: a monitored letter to Bridget. He wanted her to know he'd kept his word. Ethan had denied it, not because it wasn't valuable, but because trusting traitors always costs more than intel earns. One night, as Max packed for the U.S. Air Force Academy, he turned to Ethan. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "Not letting her back in? Not even once?" Ethan paused. "No." Max zipped the final pouch on his duffel. "She was our mom." "She still is," Ethan said. "Just not our protector. Not anymore." "Do you think she loved us?" Max asked, quieter now. Ethan sat down on the edge of the bed. "Yes, in her own broken way. But love without boundaries is just chaos, and we don't live in chaos anymore, son." 2 days later, Lily got an envelope addressed directly to her. No return address, but postmarked from Bridget's legal team. She brought it inside like it was radioactive. "I don't want to open it," she said. "But I kind of do." Ethan looked at Olivia, then back at his daughter. Then we read it together, as a family. Inside was a handwritten letter. No steganographic marks, no code. Just one short message. "You'll understand someday why I did what I did. Don't let them erase my story. Mom." Lily stared at it for a long time, then placed it back in the envelope. "She erased herself," she said quietly. "She just doesn't know it." That night, Ethan sat on the porch with a glass of water in one hand and the official court order in the other. Per decision of Judge O'Neill, based on continued evidence of manipulation, coded communication, and intent to compromise minor children, All parental rights of Bridget Cole are hereby terminated. He didn't smile. He didn't cry. He just exhaled, a slow, deliberate breath he'd been holding for 5 years. If you believe that real protection sometimes means shutting the door on those who once lived inside, type 4 in the comments. At 2:11 a.m., Ethan's encrypted military phone buzzed with a new message from Agent Walsh. Resnick found dead in custody. Apparent suicide. Intel says he passed a final list, coded. Only you would understand it. Do you want it? Ethan didn't answer right away. He stepped into Lily's room. She was fast asleep. Max was already gone. Olivia stirred beside him as he climbed into bed. And as he stared at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the security system, he whispered to no one, "The fortress stands, and the war isn't over."